Marvel should be in full-blown panic mode after the news they just got about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 at the box office. Even though there's been massive disappointments for the MCU, people still thought that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, that's not going to be one of those things. The last hurrah for these characters, James Gunn's last Guardians movie. I'm sure this movie won't be a massive disappointment, will it? Maybe that's why so many people in the mainstream media refuse to acknowledge the writing that was on the wall. The initial box office projections that showed this movie was likely going to struggle to keep up with the second Guardians of the Galaxy movie that made $850 million worldwide, that it wasn't going to come close to that. And in fact, with the big second weekend drop-offs we've been seeing with these Marvel movies, they really need to start worrying about it actually breaking even. With a massive $250 million budget, huge marketing numbers that have been spent on this, this is a movie that likely needs to hit around $750 million worldwide just to break even. And even when the Thursday preview numbers came out, people tried to say, oh, look, it's the best in the franchise, neglecting to provide the context that Thursday previews now are so much bigger than they were 6 years ago, just in general. But now we finally have those Friday numbers. They can no longer hide behind this bullshit. Now the reality is here, and for Marvel, it's another disaster. Box office update. Guardians coming in a bit soft with projected $110 million opening weekend. A Hollywood Reporter. Guardians of the Galaxy hoping for a $110 million domestic opening. James Gunn's final film for Marvel is facing headwinds as superhero fatigue settles in at the box office. Elsewhere, the blockbuster Super Mario finally falls to number 2 on its 5th weekend. All the people out there in the media or all the YouTubers that wanted to pretend like this is a big success on Thursday, it is not. The numbers are in, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is tracking closer to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania than it is to even the second Guardians movie. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 still orbiting a $110 million opening. Saturday update. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 so far is staying on track with a $48.2 million Saturday, still on its way to a $110 million opening. Exits remain high for the threequel, getting its third A cinema score, and post-track blah, blah, blah. Yeah, a lot of good audience scores. Unfortunately, the money has not been good. As we told you yesterday, Guardians 3 was modeling out like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. However, some saw it going under $100 million, which would be an awful start. Yes, this opening is off 25% from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, but at least it's higher than the original one from 2014. That's the way they're now trying to spin this. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Here we are, $17.5 million Thursday preview, $48 million when it's included in that Friday number. That's not even, you can't compare this to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Thursday numbers weren't as big back then, but look at what it had on this Friday, $56 million when you include it. What about even Thor: Love and Thunder, okay? Thor: Love and Thunder, which was a disastrous movie that barely broke even for Marvel. What did it do? Look at its Thursday and Friday, $29 and $69 million. This movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, at $17.5 and $48 million, is tracking almost directly in line with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, $17.5 and $46.4 million. That means that this movie is closer to a $464 million worldwide haul when it's all said and done than it is to the 750 number with Thor: Love and Thunder, and it's likely not even going to come close to touching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This is a nightmare. This is a disaster. If this thing actually does continue these projections to get $110, $115, even $120 million, somewhere in that range, and is $25, $30, $35 million off the pace from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which came out 6 years ago, this is a nightmare and a disaster for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've been telling you this whole time because the projections were the projections. These numbers have been out there for a while, but people didn't want to acknowledge it. And I admit, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I think that I thought that this movie was better than the vast majority of stuff we've seen from the MCU. I think that the idea that this movie might be tracking along with Quantumania is nuts to me because I think people care more about these characters. But the reality is, people aren't going out to see this movie. And we may be looking at just barely making a little bit more than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which didn't even hit $500 million when its break-even point was $600. this could end up being a catastrophic failure, the likes which no one could have ever expected for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That's the damage that Marvel has done to its brand, and it's playing out in front of our very eyes. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. A lot of YouTubers, a lot of people in the media didn't want to admit this reality, but now it's slapping them right in the face. Guardians 3 is set to come not even close to what Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 opening weekend did. And then just wait for that second weekend drop. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.